Hi, we're Sonic Society. Over the last 3 months, we've researched various ways creatives are able to enter the workforce and navigate a viable career path in the unpredictable landscape of the creative industries. It's been a very chaotic journey where we've each gone our different ways and uncovered different things about the creative industries and how we can find a way to succeed in them. Through this, we might introduce the team.
Hi, I'm Owen. Of the four of us are now all individual perspectives. I approached my side of research from the perspective of an audio engineer trying to make their way in the industry in just a general sense. So no specific genre or anything to work with, no specific type of work, just anything I can get my hands on.
Cool. Hi, I'm Max, and like Owen, I also took the perspective of a audio engineer. However, I positioned myself as a sound engineer at a local venue, offering to record free demos and mixes for bands and artists.
Hi, I'm Ava, and my focus was very different. I focused on how the independent artist can conceive a viable career in the music industry and sort of investigating what are like the individual things that you can do as an artist to create opportunities for yourself.
And I'm Dylan. What I've basically been doing is interviewing past alumni from SAE, people who have worked in the creative industries. All of them just happen to be audio professionals. Not planned, but that's how it worked out. And basically just trying to gain some insight from their experiences and their opinions and figuring out a way in which we can find work easier. We've all had individualized approaches and measures of success, but we've structured our research around 4 key objectives. Personal branding, which is how we present ourselves. The industry landscape, which is what our industry looks like and what trends and predictions exist within it. Mental health, which is like how you just stay sane and not want to die. And financial viability, which is how do you sustain yourself financially. Let's just start with personal branding then. Max, how you been going about it?
Yeah, pretty good. So there's obviously so many different, scenes, niches, genres, communities that an audio engineer can, align themselves with. And to really be successful in that, it's crucial to focus on what makes you stand out from the rest and makes you unique. Yeah, it's really crucial to focus on what makes you stand out as an audio engineer. And, with so many different genres, scenes, communities out there, you really have to be specific with what you align yourself with. To create your niche and kind of make yourself stand out in that scene. And a really good way to further that success is to really know what you're doing, the genre, the scene, like who's up and coming. And that's important, not just to, have that skill set for that specific genre, and also like a big role for audio engineers is to kind of guide your artist or band that you're working with into that scene. Yeah, it's crucial to focus on what makes you stand out, to follow your genre and niche, and to further that success is to really know the genre, the scene, the culture more than anyone else and become almost a guide for these artists and bands coming in.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that sort of thing is incredibly important. I also think that like remaining authentic is probably a very important, well, it's not even probably, it is a very important thing when maintaining a personal brand is what I've found out. What about presenting yourself to improve your career opportunities? How did that go for you?
Well, I mean, as you said, yeah, authenticity is more important than ever. And people resonate with that and, appreciate that. And it kind of makes them feel like you're doing it because you love it. And that's really gains a lot,
Yeah, no, I think that's huge because like, I think at least for us and like you and I had similar perspectives, a really big part of being like a support role in the music industry and helping artists and doing things like that. Like you are who the people are working with. There is no other you know, a relationship besides you and the artist. Like you are your work, and you are who best represents who you are as well. So I think about, you know, what you said about being authentic and being yourself, because you are the brand in this instance. You know, there is nothing but to hide behind. There is no no alter ego, no sort of other side of things. It's just you. So it's about being someone that people want to work with, you know, and having that.
Yeah.
Which is really important, I think.
No, it's actually it's funny you say that about, you know, being authentic and, like, you know, you are your work, because in a lot of ways, like, my approach was very different, because it was all about sort of establishing my artist persona and sort of going through these introspective exercises, which, you know, is a series of tangible questions to uncover who I am as an artist and why I do what I do, and, like, what my, you know, overarching vision is for my artist project. And ways that I sort of create then these career opportunities for myself was all about creating this, like, congruent content. Like, everything that I publish, you know, should be reflective of my artist vision, and sort of finding ways to, like, capitalize on these specific elements of my artistry.
I mean, it's really interesting how your approach has been so different compared to everybody else's, especially, like, how you approach your own audience. Max, what trends do you think exist within your industry niche? What predictions do you reckon you can draw from it?
Well, like, looking at the local music scene, like, live music is still thriving. It's up and about. This local venue sold 19,000 tickets this year. You know, so that's a very prominent avenue of the industry. You know, and for audio engineers, it holds a lot of opportunities for work. But yeah, like, looking at the non-live settings, there's a real decrease in opportunities. You know, more audio techs are working from home as opposed from studio. And, you know, this idea of, like, these big commercial studios, and they're essentially dissolving.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see that as well. There's a big shift, I think, in the music industry where it's becoming more accessible than ever, especially due to the fact that a lot of the prohibitive measures of, you know, the older days were, you know, the big studio spaces and the gear that you can get access to. But in this sort of new era that we have, you'll hear the word prosumer get thrown around a lot. These consumers who are engaging with professional level gear because it is more approachable than ever. You have artists who all of a sudden are able to, you know, get themselves into the industry because they now have access to, you know, the resources that they would have otherwise not had before. And I think as audio professionals, we need to understand where our place in the industry lies as well, especially when we have artists who can do it themselves. How do we then position ourselves in that as well? And I think a lot of that just does, unfortunately, come down to how good you are and the skills you have in your respective pathway. Personally, for me, I had a lot of time where I was talking to people, and the skills that I have, while, you know, I think are okay, some other people had different expectations of what that might look like and what different sessions with artists look like. And it's unfortunate because there is a very sort of like silent expectation that gets placed on you. You talk to a client, they have an, you know, they have an expectation of what you are going to offer them as well and how professional that might look. If you know, look to position yourself as a more amateur sort of lower level engineer or support role in the music industry, people are going to have lower expectations of you, but they're also probably going to be less inclined to work with you as well. And so it's a really, or was a really big thing for me about how to manage those expectations and how to talk to people. Because people want to work with people who are good and not amateurs, but at the same time, how do you get people to see you as professional if you don't necessarily have those skills and those sort of silent expectations that people would otherwise place on you?
Yeah,
you know?
like, it's sort of like how, like, you don't want an apprentice hairdresser to be the person cutting your hair. I mean, I don't think you can speak for that, but everyone else probably could.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, brother. See, for me, I think I've just found out that networking has been not only a crucial skill that you need to have non-negotiably, it is straight up inevitable. It could be as little as a chain of emails between people to going out to gigs every night, promoting yourself. Either way, if you want to succeed within the creative industries, networking is probably your most important skill. End of discussion. You could be as good as you can try to be, but that means nothing if you don't know anybody who can give you work.
Yeah.
So what about what you found out about the industry, Ava?
Yeah, so for me it was kind of different because as much as live performance is really, relevant still, and most of the money is obviously in live performance, there's also this extreme need as an independent artist to exist like chronically online, which is really difficult because there's this oversaturation of, artists on streaming services, and there's also just very low profitability on streams, as opposed to live shows. So like as an artist, you either need to tour a lot or sell loads of merch because it's otherwise basically impossible. And, even if you do live shows, you sort of need to be able to translate it live as well as you're able to translate it online. So like there's this pressure to be this like all-encompassing music marketing guru hybrid person to sustain your career, because now it's like, aside from having, this idea of who and why, what you are as a creative, you need to be your own social media manager, your own PR person, So it's definitely like a lot more difficult now.
It's really good that you touched on pressure, because that leads us into our next talking point, which is mental health. How did you go about handling that specific topic?
Yeah, like I guess it's tough because like being, like a woman in like mostly music production it's difficult because sometimes you have this feeling that you sort of need to prove your worth just in order to like sit in on the session or something and almost like be better than most of the people in the room. So you're like allowed to be there. And on top of that, there's this pressure to be, the publicist, the manager, the everything. And like you can no longer just solely focus on the music and your creativity to get by. So it's, I think, really important to seek community and like with other artists and sort of create this dialogue, like when you are struggling and like reaching out, and also learning that like the value of your work lies in the ways that it affects your audience and not the whole world. So yeah.
I think that's a good point. Like, I know for me, in my sort of experience, and I consider this for me entering the industry and for all of us as well as part of what we've done, there is a lot of just general pressure on yourself as well that unfortunately you probably put on yourself, but especially just to participate in everything and to be as involved as possible, put yourself out there as much as possible. And that's great. Like that's one thing, but you end up kind of doing that for everything and accepting every opportunity or every little thing that might get you somewhere. And so a big part for me, and at least my mental health during this whole thing, was just understanding like my own limits, because I had a situation where, I didn't know my limits. I didn't understand what that was yet because I never hit them. I didn't understand my capabilities, and I said yes to every single thing that came through because any small step closer I get to the end goal is worth it to me. And it really made me have to take a step back and understand what my own limitations were and what that looked like for me. And I do think it was very valuable for me to find my limits. Unfortunately, it did mean that I had to turn around and make a decision on what I sacrifice. Do I sacrifice the quality of work that I'm providing to the people that I'm working with? Or do I sacrifice myself and, stop sleeping as much, stress more, and take on things, just have crazy work-life balance? Well, there is no work-life balance. It was just work.
Yeah.
So finding balance to me was a really big part of understanding that. And in the future, it's going to be a big part of working, is just making sure I don't take on too many opportunities. Because I had a situation where I didn't have any for a long time. And then to catch back up on my missing or lost time, I just took everything I could. And there I was, as overwhelmed as I could possibly be, because it was just hard to get work.
Yeah. It's funny you said like the struggle for opportunity you had as well, because that's something that I experienced as well during my time. And it's hard, man. It gets you down, like not knowing, not having anything planned or booked to record. It really like gets in your head. And something I mean, and this is just a project. Like, I couldn't imagine what it would be like as your career, where like if you don't have that next job lined up, like you don't know where it's going to be or when it's going to come. And then this is a really good insight. What our case study was into that life. And something the way that I kind of managed that was creating the support network in you guys as well. I remember there was a time when I was pretty down. Didn't have much on, nothing really planned or scheduled. And, I reached out to you guys and you guys really helped. And, I think that's really important to like have these networks of support where you can rely on when times are tough.
I mean, I didn't personally realize how important it was to have support until people actually reached out to me during this whole ordeal. I sort of just took it on the chin, and then you guys reached out, seeing how I was going, and I wasn't going too good. And then after the conversations, I was doing a lot better, which is great. And chatting to all the other people that I've been interviewing and stuff like that, they've definitely backed up that sort of thing. A support network is crucial. Not only that, it's just important to sort of like, dude, get your fucking 8 hours. Like you said, like you overwork yourself, and it's at the cost of your sleep, which tanks your mental health. And basically everyone I've been chatting to is just like, bro, sleep, get your sleep, and you will feel a lot better, which is a very boring answer, but it's an incredibly necessary one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Valuable.
Yeah. The barrier to entry into the industry is technically quite small. And it's very easy to start with. You can get your laptop and you put Ableton or Pro Tools or Fruity Loops or whatever the fuck you feel like using.
Fruity Loops.
And it's relatively cheap to offer your services like that in the perspective of an audio engineer. But the competition just like ramps up immediately, so quickly financially as well, with how other audio technicians and other audio professionals have gear that's much more impressive and much more expensive than what you have, and it's hard to compete in that sort of space, and therefore you have to get that gear too, and that costs a lot of money.
Plus, you're no longer competing with audio techs. You're also competing with people like me, like artists that are also trying to produce, also trying to mix.
Exactly. Yeah. Like home, like multi-hyphenated, like artists that are like you said, the prosumers.
They're coming.
They're coming.
I'm there.
Yeah, so skill is often conflated with, access to resources, and your lack of resources can actually become a barrier. So not having the same resources, it becomes more difficult to then also, set your price, set your value. Especially as a newcomer, like, how do you charge people? Like, how do you value your work accurately? And it's really interesting because you have to value yourself, but then also not undercut yourself and peers.
It's this like massive sort of race to the bottom.
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, where we exist in an industry where a bunch of people want to, work and make themselves exist in this industry and have some sort of financial viability. But it's at the cost of other people in the industry a lot of the times, unfortunately, where people will, to get work, price themselves lower so that they are the more affordable, the more approachable option. But it does unfortunately come at the cost of the entire industry, as in if everyone is valuing themselves at this point now, it will become this point now, slightly lower and then slightly lower again, to the point where it's just not sustainable for the individual as a career. And so it's a very hard line to walk. Like, where do you price yourself so that you can efficiently value your skill, your access to gear, the amount of investment you've put into yourself in terms of whether that, just be the time you've spent honing your craft, the amount of money you've spent on gear. You have to make that back somehow, but you also want yourself to, you want your services to appear approachable and affordable to people so that you can get work. but it's a very fine line that you need to walk where you're not undercutting other people massively to just destroy what could be viable, but also making sure that you are properly compensated as well. So it's a very tight rope to walk along to make sure that you're getting it right, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think like my main takeaway for that is sort of like as an independent artist, it's sort of finding ways that you can like share or like lower those costs. So like if that means, you know, like splitting a studio booking fee, you know, and like networking with other artists can be like a ways to like lower the cost. But also it's almost like you have to become comfortable with knowing that, you know, at the start, you might not be able to solely sustain yourself from your craft, like from just your craft. So it's about like managing these expectations and, you know, adjusting, you know, to something new and not just a traditional approach.
It's the unfortunate reality of the industry that we have all placed ourselves in.
Yeah.
I mean, this project itself has like sort of given us so much more perspective on our industry, and not only that, a little bit on ourselves as well, as sappy as it is to say. And I don't know, my personal takeaway with like my benefit of chatting to like people who have been in this industry for a few years now, even if it is like fairly recently, even though it's like scary and unpredictable, like I feel like I'm like armed with a little bit more knowledge to sort of like get out there, I guess.
Yeah.
Like this is stuff that you learn within like your first year or first set of months, and so like it feels like we're a little bit ahead of it.
For sure.
Which sort of circles around to the entire point of this project in general, which was to find this sort of forefront knowledge so that you wouldn't shit yourself. We did the shitting ourselves for you.
Exactly.
It sucked. No, it was pretty good.
It was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
It was horrible, but it was a lot of fun.
No, I
It
enjoyed
wasn't
it.
horrible. It was great.
I feel like, you know, we got a jump start.
Yeah.
You know. But like, yeah, it was fucking terrifying. And I was just, I mean, yeah.
I'm glad we did it while we were still in uni though.
Yeah.
We were fortunate enough to have this sort of
Mm.
safety net
Exactly.
around us, which was nice.
Yeah, it's important to acknowledge the privilege we've had.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
are students.
for
we
sure.
had the access to resources and facilities. We had access to each other.
Yeah, I think that's the main one. I think like what I've taken away from this is like that there's such strength in numbers, and like having like just going back to the network thing, like having a network of people that genuinely care and like genuinely want to see
To
you
help.
succeed or like
Yeah.
want to succeed with you is huge. I think that's crucial to success.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just
Especially in the creative industries.
Yeah.
100%.
Crucial.
It was
Yeah.
really, really exciting and really cool for me at least to hear all your demos and stuff you've been working on before. Like it was so cool, and like I just really want to encourage that to everyone to like share your stuff, because otherwise, you know, you're the only one that's going to be listening to it. And
Yeah.
Get out there.
Link and build.
Get them. Get out there. Get amongst it. Do
Link
your
and build.
things,
Link
you
and
know?
build. Yeah.
Well, I guess that's the most important notes that we took away from our research. All that's really left is for whoever is watching or listening to this to take that on, so that it can
Yes.
influence your own creative journey,
so it
I
wasn't
guess.
a waste of time.
Yeah. So it isn't a waste of time, please.
It's possible.
It's totally possible. But regardless, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time.